Hi guys, welcome to our latest game, and as you can see we're playing a game of English Civil War. So this is sort of a game loosely based around Edge Hill, or a game in that period, so right at the start of the English Civil War, and we're playing Royalists against Parliamentarians. So let's have a look at the forces we've got deployed. We've got Dan here. He's the cavalry commander for the Royalists, so Dan is perhaps Prince Rupert. So he's here on the right flank. There you go, there's his character figure and his bodyguard. They count as a small unit, but they do count as elite status, which means they're immune from panic effects and get an automatic re-roll if they fail morale. He's supported there by the Queen's Lifeguard and the King's Lifeguard, both of which count as veterans. Then we move on to Charlie's unit. He has a small unit of commanded shot on the hill here, a Saker as his part of his artillery. Charlie's moved up another unit of commanded shot to support the gun, and then we come up with his pint blocks. So we've got, and I can't remember everyone's flag, so apologies for this, and I might also conceivably have some Parliamentarian and Royalist flags mulled up, because I painted this army nearly 20 years ago now, and my memory isn't all it could have been. So I think this is Apsley's regiment of foot. They're regulars. Then we have again line troops here. This is Prince Rupert's regiment of foot. We've got a veteran unit hiding behind this small wood, which is the King's Lifeguard. Then we've got the Oxford regiment here. They're raw. And you can see, if you look closely, that most of the pikemen in that unit are actually bearing farm implements, hence their raw status. Then we have another unit of regular Royalist foot. And then we get Dan's second unit of cavalry. These are all regular troops. They've all got light armour. They're all wearing buff coats. We've got their commander there, and he's also supported by a regiment of dragoons. So we've got 2 units of cavalry on this flank and a unit of dragoons, 3 units of cavalry on the far flank, all veterans, then 2 units of commanded shot, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of foot. Now I did have some reserves, but Charlie has thrown all of his reserves into the front line after redeploying, so we'll see whether playing with no reserves works to his advantage or not. Alright, let's have a look at the Parliamentary Forces that I'm going to be commanding today. So we've got my cavalry on the flank here. We've got 2 units of trotters. So we're using the Warhammer English Civil War rules, which are almost as old, or probably as old as all of these figures. So we have trotters and gallopers. All the Royalist cavalry are gallopers, which means if they win a hand-to-hand combat, they will automatically break their enemy. Trotters get a rank bonus when you get to resolve the combat resolution. So we've got the Parliamentary commander here, 2 units of trotters, a unit of dragoons. Quite nice troops. These troops, the vast majority of them are by Renegade and Bicorn miniatures. Then we've got a unit of dismounted dragoons. So a unit of mounted and a unit of dismounted dragoons, and 2 units of trotters on the flank. Then in the centre for the Parliamentarians, these are all trained bands, apart from this unit on the left. Apologies, can't remember the name of that unit. And then we have London trained bands for the other 4 units here. We have some falconets and another Saker interspersed amongst the troops. Okay, so that's the Parliamentarian foot. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 unit in reserve. So this unit in reserve is raw for the Parliamentarians. So both sides have got 1 raw unit. Parliamentarians also have a unit of cuirassiers here in the centre. They count as regulars. Then on the flank, we've got the best of the Parliamentarian cavalry. So we've got 1 in heavy armour, which are these guys on the far right with their cuirasses on, and 2 more units in light armour. These are again all trotters, but we have 3 units of veterans on the flank here for the Parliamentarians. So we'll see how this game goes. We'll kick off with turn 1. Alright, so the Parliamentarian cavalry has moved forward slightly up to the edge of this hill, and the dragoons have moved up to the hedge line. These 2 regiments of infantry have swung left to try and make sure there's not an exposed flank. In the centre, the Parliamentarians have moved first, so it's allowed them to occupy pretty much all of these hedge lines. They're up against that hedge. This unit hasn't moved, but both of these, all 3 of these units here, march moved, so they can't fire, and we rolled the gun forward to provide some support. The cavalry have swung slightly to the forward on the right to protect the flank of the infantry formations here, and otherwise my dragoons deployed against the hedge line, and my mounted dragoons fell back a bit to avoid them being charged by Dan's cavalry. So that's it for movement. We'll now look and see if we've got any firing. Okay, so the only firing for the Parliamentarians was their Saker here, which fired at the City of Oxford regiment. It did hit, but we only bounced through the first 2 ranks of musketeers, and we managed to roll a 1. So we only caused 1 casualty. So the first casualty of the game, one of the Oxford musketeers has been killed, but no panic tests for that. That's it. Now for the movement for the Royalists. All right, not much movement on the Royalist side, so Charlie's infantry has all stayed in place, and the left wing of the Royalist cavalry has also not moved. But over here on the right, Prince Rupert and the Life Guard and the Queen's Life Guard and his own bodyguard have moved forward. All right, now let's get on with some firing. Let's see if the Royalists can be more effective than the Parliamentarians were. Let's kick off with the firing. Charlie, do you want to start?
So, can I fire these troops? Because I'm guessing you're going to be staying behind that cover that most of the
Yeah,
game. So
you can do.
Them against them.
Are you going to do a salvo or a normal shot?
I'll do a salvo. Yeah, salvo, because you're doing 4 turns in the game, so it won't be...
Okay, remember you've got 4 units of ammo. That will use 2 of your units of ammo up, but it's potentially worth doing. All right, so you've got 16 dice you need for that, because you can fire 2 ranks, and you're going to fire both wings of cavalry? Sorry, both wings of musketeers?
Both wings,
No, the both units of musketeers, that one and that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 16 shots then.
I'll roll this one, and then after I'll roll that one.
Okay, I'll come back in a second to see what you need. All right, so this will be 16 shots from Charlie, needing 5s to hit, because it's his first turn of firing.
That is...
If he causes a casualty, he has salvoed, so this will be a morale test on me.
This looks very good.
It does look quite good, Charlie. So how many have you got? Wow, that's very effective.
9.
9, and there will be no saving throws because the strength of the musket is strength 4 and it's -2 off my armour. I actually don't have any armour on this unit at all. So that will be 9 musketeers blown away, and that's quite close to being a morale test. I'll have to take a morale test anyway because you've salvoed me. All right, so rolling a leadership test as we've taken the salvo result on me. So I need a 7 or less. I've rolled a 9, I fail, and I will panic and flee. I fall back 2d6. Let's see how far we go. So we go 8 inches. Right, Charlie's firing his Saker at this unit of cavalry. So what's your guess, Charlie?
About... No, I'm going to go 14, just in case I do get accident.
Don't we want to shoot slightly less than what we think
Yeah,
it is,
that's
so it
what
can
I,
bounce?
that's what I was thinking. I might go 14.
Maybe 12.
Tw-
Because that to there was 12. So
no,
that's,
it was this gun against that one was 14.
no.
To
When
get
we shot Dad's troops here, it was 12. From here to there.
Extensive discussion. Charlie has gone 12. I think it's far too short, but we'll see. So 12 plus 6 is 18. Measure 18 inches from the barrel of your gun. And then we'll put a dice at the end of that. Looks like it might be quite a good roll. Okay, so you land on the first guy and see how far you bounce. Anything more than a 1 or anything, anything other than a misfire will cause a second casualty. Ah, you've got a misfire. So the gun and the ball simply embeds itself into the ground at that guy's foot. Roll a dice, anything other than a 1, and that cavalryman is killed. Yep, first casualty against this cavalry. So we're firing the second one. This is the falconet, firing at this pipe block here, I think. Let's see how far you bounce, Charlie.
4.
17 plus 4 is 21.
This might be good.
Okay,
Ooh,
so
rather than
landed on top of them. Let's see how far you bounce.
8.
Okay, you go through all 4 ranks, so roll 4 dice and don't roll any 1s.
Yes.
No 1s, you kill a complete rank. Not quite 25% casualties because I've got my musketeers that count in the unit size, but a good lot of casualties against those pikemen. All right, first thing I've got to do is compulsory checks, so I have to check whether any of my units get contagion and panic from my fleeing pike block in the centre. This might ruin the parliamentary battle plan before the game starts. Let's see how we do as we roll these panic checks. Firstly, and most importantly, rolling for my general. He rolls a 7, he stands, so that's a success. Then we'll roll for this red pike block. They roll a 5, they stand, that's a success. The grey pike block, they roll a 8, they stand. No, because they use the general's leadership because he's within 12 inches. But he's 8.
You said they were 7 when you rolled.
They are 7, but you can use the general's leadership because he's within 12 inches. These guys, he wasn't within 12. And then rolling it for my cavalry. Yep, they stand. And now trying to rally my fleeing troops. They fail, they continue to flee, and they flee a further 7 inches. All right, we'll move those and get on with the rest of the turn. So we've done parliamentarian movement in turn 2. So my trotters have moved forward and started coming down the hill here. The ones having to cross the hedge have not got through it, but the ones to their right have. Otherwise, I've held my infantry in position here. I've moved my reserve unit up to try and occupy this hedge line. And we've moved the other unit formally up to the hedge line. Unfortunately, my infantry are still running away and probably will disappear off table this turn, but I have been able to move my cuirassiers and the rest of my units out of panic range. So hopefully they'll hang on a bit longer. I've not moved my trotters forward, and I will, because I had to do the panic moves and I forgot to move them, I will move my dragoon cavalry forward, and then we'll be on to firing. Okay, so my dragoons are going to open fire from down here. They're going to salvo, and they are firing at long range, but it's 4s to hit with a dragoon. So 5s for long range, but 4s for first turn. Not too bad. In fact, very good. So that's 7 hits. Then rolling to wound, I'll be strength 4 with a musket. And I think I'll probably be hitting toughness for elite bodyguard. We'll just... All right, then rolling for wounds. I need 4s to wound. 1, 2, 3, 4 wounds. Unfortunately, because you're only wearing light armour, that's 4 casualties on your elite bodyguard from my dragoons. So 4 of those cavalry are killed down, and you need to take a panic test for taking 25% casualties.
But aren't they elite, so they don't have to take it?
Ah, you're right. They don't have to take panic tests. So they are okay, but they are down to a unit of 2. All right, and now we're going to shoot my second unit of dragoons. We're only going to fire the front rank because they moved. So this will be 5s to hit because it's first turn of firing. It's at long range, and I moved. So that's 3 more hits, 4s to wound. 2 more wounds. The unit has been destroyed. You've lost your elite bodyguard. All right, rolling these guys. We're going to go for 14 inches again. 14 plus 8 is 22 inches. And then we'll bounce a further 2. So 22 to 24 against the Oxfordshires from this second. Okay, so here on the left flank, the gallopers have moved forward slightly. The dragoons have stayed where they are, thinking that they are in range and can have a go against my heavy cavalry. In the centre, Charlie again has left his musket units all in place. Dan has charged with his King's Lifeguard against my unit of trotters. I need to do some defensive fire. He also charged with the Queen's Lifeguard against the now unloaded dragoons, but they were out of range, so they had a failed charge. So we'll start with the defensive fire from my pistols as Dan charges in with his King's Lifeguard. Okay, so we did the defensive fire from my trotters, but unfortunately caused no casualties against the charging King's Lifeguard. That could be bad news for me as we get into the combat phase. All right, Charlie, time to open up with your guns. You firing your falconet?
Yeah, this gun against
Okay, what's range you're guessing?
17.
Okay, roll the artillery dice.
Plus 4.
Okay, so that's 21.
I think it's the exact same as last time.
Let's see how far you go. So 21 inches. You're firing at these guys, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yep. See how far the bounce is? That's the front of the unit.
10. Should go straight through.
10, yeah, goes straight through. So that'll be only 3 casualties this time because it's only 3 deep. Roll 3 dice. Don't roll any ones.
Didn't.
No ones. 3 more casualties. They're not enjoying taking this artillery fire. All right, Charlie. Any other firing from your infantry units or your artillery?
My other gun is going to fire against the green.
Okay, against the green unit on the.
Should we do 11?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do
Okay, roll your artillery dice then, Charlie.
8.
Okay, so that's going to be quite a long way. That's 19 inches. You've got to take measure behind yourself.
20.
No, 18. It was 11 plus
Yeah.
8, so it's 19 inches. Okay.
It's right into
Is it in the second rank or the front rank?
seconds.
Second rank. Okay, so that's 4 guys again, so don't roll a 1. Oh, get there. Roll your bounce first.
10.
Okay, yeah, so 4 guys, don't roll a 1.
Behind.
It goes to the... Well, there isn't anyone behind. You're in the pikes anyway because of the distance you rolled.
I've got the flag bar people behind.
Yeah, it goes into all of them. So there's 4 guys. It's 4 deep. So don't roll 1s.
No.
No, okay. 4 casualties for my musketeers. Right, and Charlie's just fired his marksman hiding here in the woods. So he's opened fire. I'll just move the tree so you can see him. There you go. He has opened fire and he successfully... just got my cable caught on my cavalry. Hang on a second. He successfully scored a hit on the gun and indeed randomised, managed to hit the crew, but unfortunately only rolled a 2. So he didn't kill one of those 2 crewmen, which would have gone a good way to disabling that gun. So any more firing from any musketeers this turn, guys? No?
The dragoons.
All right, Dan's going to fire his dragoons over here on this flank. I think you've got 5 guys there, so this will be 5 shots. You'll need 4s normally, over half range 5s, first turn of firing, so 4s, no 4s to hit. Okay, so that's 2 hits, then to wound, it'll be 4s to wound. 1 wound, and there'll be a save of 6 for my cavalry, which we make. We're very lucky. All right, put a shooting counter on the dragoons, and then we'll go on and we'll do hand-to-hand combat. Dan, you charged, so you get to fight first. All right, so the lifeguard roll to hit. So we got 7 attacks hitting on 3s. We've hit twice. Strength 3 against toughness 4, so it'll be 5s to wound. So roll the 2 hits, see if you get any wounds. You roll 1 wound. I've got light armour, so I save on a 5 or a 6, which I don't, so that's 1 casualty against me. All right, then roll again. You've got 6 pistol shots. Okay, so again, you will need 3s to hit with your pistol shots. Let's see if these can do any better. That's much better. They all hit. Okay, and again, this is strength 3 against toughness 4, so you need 5s to wound. Okay, so that's 2 wounds, and I get a save of 6 only this time, because pistols are penetrate armour easily. I make no saves. I've taken 3 casualties, so I lose 3 people fighting back. So I only get 4 attacks back. So we'll roll my attacks back. I need 4s to hit you. I hit twice with my swords, and then I'll need 5s to do a wound. 1 wound, 1 save of 5 or 6 down. Nope, so you've taken 1 casualty, and then I've got 3 pistol shots, of which I don't hit at all. So you have 1 by 2. Right, I've got to do a leadership test of 5 or less to stay in the combat. We roll an 8, so we lose. And actually, I made a mistake there. Because you're gallopers and I'm trotters, it's actually an auto break. So I automatically flee. And I flee 8. Dan, are you going to pursue? I think you automatically pursue because you're gallopers anyway. So roll 2d6. If you roll more than an 8, you've wiped me out. You've only rolled a 7, so you haven't quite wiped me out. But we will have to do some further panic tests as I've had a unit broken in hand-to-hand combat. Right, so that's bad news. I've got a lot of units within 12 inches. See if they panic. All right, so starting with my general, he is fine. Next, my next unit of gallopers, they are fine. My unit of musketeers, they are fine. This is really lucky. I will test for the gun. That might or might not be in range. They fail if the gun is in range. And I think the dragoons are out of range, but we'll just check. All right, so the Parliamentarians were very lucky here. We haven't seen a catastrophic loss of all of the forces on this flank as we passed all those morale tests, which was pretty lucky. So these guys and my trotters have passed, but we do have this unit of King's Lifeguard breaking through the Parliamentarian lines. Let's see what we can do as we move on to turn 3. Okay, so here on the right flank, my heavy cavalry have charged in and been countercharged by Dan's heavy cavalry. My dragoons and my musketeers have stayed stationary. I've moved my other foot regiment again up to the hedge line, but they'll probably get volleyed, so I'm not sure that was an altogether good idea. These guys have stayed in place and will probably open fire this turn. We passed the rally test for my cavalry, but my gun has continued to retreat. And we spun our cavalry around to try and provide some support. So that's it for movement. Now on to firing for the Parliamentarians. Okay, so we've fired my green unit of pike and shot. They did cause 2 casualties against one of Charlie's commanded shot, but unfortunately firing at the other commanded shot all missed. And Charlie has passed his command test. So he took a couple of casualties, but no units forced to run away, which is what I was trying to cause. Down here, no other firing from any of my units, but I fired the gun. Unfortunately, I've rolled a misfire. Let's see what this causes, Charlie. You roll a d6. Let's see what we get. If you get a 6, my gun probably blows up. You roll a 1. Flash in the pan. The captain lights the touch hole, but only the primary powder goes off with a fizz and no bang. The gun does not fire this turn, but may fire normally next turn when it has been reprimed. So simply no effect from the gun this turn. All right, so we moved down the line after the flash in the pan on the gun. None of these musketeers fired, but the dragoons up against this hedge line tried to cause the same damage as we have on the other flank. They fired at Dan's heavy cavalry over there, but caused no casualties. So we're now on to the hand-to-hand combat. So this will be simultaneous as we've charged and then the Royalists have countercharged. So we both have 6 figures in the front rank. So it'll be 6 dice plus 1 for a leader. So we both need 7s. I'm veterans and I think you're regulars, aren't you, Dan? So I'll be hitting on 3s, you're hitting on 4s. You need some more dice. Okay, there's some for you. 4, 5, 6, 7 for me. So I'm hitting on 3s. Dan, you're hitting on 4s. Let's roll for our sword attacks. Wow, that's pretty good for the Parliamentarians. I get 6 hits. Dan, you get 3. We both need 5s to cause a wound because we're strength 3, toughness 4. I cause 3 wounds. You cause 1. So let's just mark that up temporarily. All right, and then we've got 6 pistol shots for both of us. Okay, again, needing 3s and 4s for you, Dan, to hit. I'll re-roll that cock dice. So 3s and 4s for me, 4s for you, and then 5s to wound. I cause 1 more wound. You cause 1 more wound. Okay, so I've taken 4 wounds, and you've taken...
4.
Sorry, you haven't caused 4. Hang on a sec. So the Cavaliers have been defeated by the Ironsides here. The Ironsides caused 3 casualties. The Cavaliers only caused 1. Dan now breaks and flees. Let's see how far you go, Dan. You go 9 and I pursue 7. So like the other combat, you don't get wiped out, but you do flee back 9. Right, so we've got effective cavalry action going on both flanks here. So the Ironsides caused the Gallopers facing them to flee, and their companion unit also failed its panic test. The Dragoons, however, passed, but Dan's general as well decided this was not good news and has also gone fleeing off with his allies. All right, turn 3 and opportunity for more charges to go in. Let's see what happens. Firstly, compulsory test here. Let's see, start with the general. You need a 7 or less to rally your general. Yep, he turns around. Then you're fleeing heavy cavalry unit that's taken the 3 casualties. Again, a 7 or less. 9, so they go 2d6. If you roll a double 1, they'll still be on the table. No, they flee off table. And then your other unit, which has taken no casualties, roll 2d6. They also flee off table. The cavalry flank for the Royalists is gone. All right, so Prince Rupert has joined this unit and charged in. I go to get some defensive fire. I need 5s with my muskets. Wow, Dan. Dan is really fed up with my firing on this flank. All right, and then 4s to wound. 4 wounds, 4 dead cavalrymen. That will be a break test on Prince Rupert. They do have a leadership of 10 because they've got Rupert with them. And you can also ignore 1, or you can re-roll, I think, 1 test. So anyway, you've got a roll of 10 or less to stay in the fight, which you do. But they have lost 4 units, 4 figures. Charlie again has opened up, this time with Prince Rupert's regiment against this unit against the hedge line. He's got 7 hits, rolls to wound. It'll be 3s to wound with musket fire.
I thought they automatically go through because there's no armor.
No saves, but you've got a wound. So you've only hit so far. So 3s to wound.
That'll be 6.
6, so it's not a complete loss of a sleeve, but that might be, it will be a test because it's a salvo test. Can I have 2 dice, Charlie? Because it was salvo firing, and I'm not in range. I might be in range of my general. Oh, I think that's cocked, isn't it, guys? I know you wish it's a 6, but I can't balance the dice on top, so you can't. 4, they stand. All right, Charlie's firing the gun, and he's firing at my cavalry over here.
2.
So it was what, 14, did you say? So that's 16, and then see how far you bounce. 15. Okay, so 17. See how far it bounces. No, you need to roll the dice again, Charlie. See how far it bounces.
Oh, it bounces 8.
Okay, so that's
17, 25.
17 and 25. So 17 to 25.
Rips through most of my...
Do you want to pull it out to 25?
It is on 25.
Okay, front of the gun. You only catch... Oh, you do catch the general. Although I'm not sure you can pick it out. I probably get a lookout, sir, as he's in a unit. So if I roll a 1, I think that's the rule.
I do hit one of the guys.
I've rolled a 1. You have, I think I'll just check. Lookout, sir, but you might well have hit my general and one of the guys. So having failed the lookout, sir rule, my general was hit. The Saker causes 2 casualties at -3. He only had 2 wounds, so the general has been killed. However, my units are either in combat or the only other cavalry unit was the dragoons over there and this cavalry unit here. They both passed their leadership tests, so they don't panic as a result of the general being killed. Right, Charlie's now firing with his commanded shot against this unit down here. Let's see what you get. First 8 shots, needing 4s to hit as their first round of firing. That's 3 hits.
Mm-hmm.
And then, actually it's 5s to hit. Do you see what you rolled, Charlie? I think it was a 5, a 6 and a 4. So I think you've only got 2 hits there because it's -1 because I'm behind cover. But then it'll be 3s to wound.
But then I'm also...
You only got to cause a wound for a panic test because it's salvo fire.
2 dead.
So 2 dead, and it'll be a panic test on me. So leadership of 7, which we pass, but we take 2 casualties. All right, so we've got Prince Rupert down here attacking this unit of dragoons. 9 attacks hitting on 3s. Dan specialises in terrible dice rolling in this game. Okay, and then wounding on 3s. Okay, that's 3 wounds, and I've got 3 saves of 6, which I don't make any, so that's 3 casualties, and then you get 6 pistol shots, hitting on 3s. Okay, and then wounding on 4s. Okay, so that's 2 more, so that's 5 casualties. I get no saves on those. So I've lost all my front rank apart from my leader. So my leader will fight back. He hits twice. He needs 5s to wound. He doesn't do any wounds. I've lost by 5. Do my leadership test. I'll need a double 1. I don't. I flee.
Why would you double 1?
Because he lost
And I
5.
flee 8, which might well take me off the table. So devastating charge there by Prince Rupert. He has defeated those dragoons that were against him, and then cascaded morale failure. So the supporting unit of dragoons also failed their morale. They're on the table edge down here. And this unit of trotters also failed its morale. So it is up against the table edge. All right, we've got the King's Lifeguards charge. See if you can be as effective with this one, Dan. right, so Dan, Lifeguard won this combat. They won it by 1, but again, they're gallopers against trotters, so it's an auto break. Let's see how far I go. I go 8. I don't think that's quite far enough to take me off the table. And Dan pursues 5, so he'll still be pursuing me, but not in contact. Let's just do my leadership test for this unit here. They roll a 5. They stay in place.
They might not, because there's no generals nearby.
Yeah, they've got a leadership of 7, so they definitely will. All right, movement over here. So we've moved one of our units of trotters to start flanking the end of the Royalist line. And the other 2 units I have to swivel to make sure that they weren't hit in the rear by Charlie's Dragoons. Dan's Dragoons rather, and I've brought my reserve up as well to stop them simply moving around my flank and shooting at me. Over here, my lines, the weakness of my pipe blocks is making me hesitant about charging forward. I think I'll just get devastated by Charlie, so we'll stay in place here and we'll try and volley with our 2 units in the centre. And I have moved my cuirassiers across to try and stem the collapse of my left flank. All right. That's it for movement. No charges from me this turn, so I'll come back after. All right, so an eventful turn 4 for the Royalists. Their shooting finally prevailed, and this unit of Parliamentarian infantry has broken from the ridgeline. The Apsley's unit and the 2 units of commanded shot both fired against this unit. They finally caused 3 casualties and it failed its morale test. And then across the line, no other real casualties caused until we got to the Dragoons, who had broken into skirmish formation. They fired off their remaining musket ammo and caused 3 casualties and a break test, which fortunately my heavy cavalry passed. They had a leadership of 8 and they rolled an 8. So my cavalry there have stood, but those Dragoons have proved a real menace. Now on to the hand-to-hand combat as the Royal Lifeguard try and drive this cavalry off the table. So we've completed the charges. Dan's Lifeguard drove my trotters finally off the table, so they fled. They rolled a double 1, but funnily enough, Dan was able to catch that. So they were wiped out, and he's pursued off the table. Now we've got a whole lot of rally tests for my gun and my infantry. As we start turn 5, we decided we're going to play another couple of turns as the game's still in the balance. Let's do a quick recap of where we are after turn 4. So the Parliamentarian heavy cavalry have done pretty well on this flank. They've driven off all of the formed Royalist cavalry and are starting to threaten the flank of the Royalist infantry line. The Royalist infantry themselves are still in good shape. Charlie's defensive tactics have worked pretty well, and the defence of the hedge line has not paid well for the Parliamentarians. We've taken too many salvos, which have been too effective from the massed fire from the Royalists. So we've lost 1 unit of foot, and we have another one currently fleeing over on the left flank, and we've lost all of the Parliamentarian heavy cavalry on this flank as well, and we have 2 units of gallopers pushing into this flank on the Royalist side, but we still have my cuirassiers potentially to deploy to try and stop the complete collapse of the Parliamentarian position. All right, we'll start turn 5 with my morale tests. So starting with we'll start with the gun. It's likely to go, needs a 5, yeah, it's failed, and it flees off the table.
Cuirassiers take a test as well.
Cuirassiers, no, because they outnumber it by more than 2 to 1, and it's only got a crew of 2. And then my infantry fails as well. They continue fleeing. They're going to go in front of the cuirassiers. They flee a further 7 inches. So end of both sides, turn 5. The annoying skirmishers have done their traditional skirmish thing of running up the side of the board to avoid being pinned there by my heavy cavalry. The Royalist infantry here has fallen back behind its pipe block as it was pressurised by my cavalry. My infantry has started to move up to potentially do some damage there, but this flank continues to be a disaster. I took a casualty from the big Seika on the hill on my cuirassiers, but fortunately they were otherwise not impacted, and I took a whole lot more casualties on this infantry unit as Daniels, who's now taken over from Charlie for all of the troops, has continued volleying with those units. The only good thing for me is they're now all out of ammunition. However, the King's Lifeguard are just starting to move towards the woods, through the woods, which doesn't bode well. And the Queen's Lifeguard joined the King's Lifeguard and drove into the side of my retreating green unit of musketeers. And as they were already retreating and contacted by chargers, they destroyed that unit. So it's not looking good at the end of turn 5. I think we'll just play one more turn and see how we're going, but it's looking pretty good for the Royalists at the moment. Okay, let's move on. Last chance for the Parliamentarians. They're turn 6. All right, this is it at the end of the game. It's been a pretty strong victory for the Royalists. So the Royalists have destroyed 6 units of Parliamentarians. So our 2 units of Dragoons that were up in that corner and did really well, doing a lot of casualties against the King and the Queen's Lifeguard. And I think they destroyed one of your units of, yeah. They caused a lot of damage. Oh yes, they destroyed the Prince's bodyguard, didn't they? So they did pretty well, but they were both destroyed in the end by the Royalist cavalry. You can see the Royalist cavalry down here. It's at half strength, but it's still formed and effective. It's now locked in combat with the cuirassiers, whose high armour save helped them survive being charged by both units this turn. But I don't think they were a bit lucky, so I don't think that they'll be able to stay in position there. Otherwise, in the centre, we've still got the mass of Royalist units, including the King's Lifeguard, not yet committed at all, potentially going to punch in against these 2 units. Over here, things are looking better for the Parliamentarians. Their cavalry has won this flank, and they are now putting pressure on these 2 units, so they might have some success here. But as the game is, after 6 turns, the Parliamentarians own 2 quarters, the Royalists own 1 quarter, and 1 is disputed. So the Parliamentarians are slightly up on that, and the Parliamentarians, as I say, destroyed 2 units of Royalist Parliamentarian Dragoons. They destroyed another 2 units of Parliamentarian Cavalry and 2 units of Pike and Shot, whereas we only destroyed 2 units of Royalist Cavalry, I think, and possibly a unit. No, not even the unit of Dragoons, which is still hiding on this corner of the table. So a good, convincing victory for the Royalists. I hope you've enjoyed this game, and look forward to seeing you all next time. Do leave us a comment and do subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers, everyone, and have a good week.